My name is Denis Gosling, Denis Gosling. I was in the Air Force, Staff Sergeant, when I went to Vietnam in September of '65, came back in October '66.
Okay, and now it's just you talking to him now. Thank you.
Now you grew up in Europe, and that's where you were born, and then you
England.
and then you came over to the United States.
Came over to Canada first.
Came over to Canada first, excuse me. So how did you get interested or started in the military?
My wife, bless her, we split up and I wanted to do something. And I told my mother I wanted to go in the Army. Well, we went to see the Army recruiter and he said, no, you're going in the Air Force. So I went in the Air Force and that's how I got in the Air Force.
What was the biggest shock to you when you got to the Air Force, going from just civilian life into combat life?
Into combat now. I've never been what you call into combat.
Okay.
I was in a fire department crash rescue, and we just did nothing but rescue the pilots out of the aircraft. We went to house fires too, but mostly crash rescue. But other than that, that's about the biggest part of the danger I was in while I was in the Air Force, with the bombs on the airplanes not exploding or something of this nature.
Were there any rescues that you remember in particular that stand out in your mind?
One, very much. My very, very first one, it was T-33. I was at Laredo, Texas, and they had a mid-air collision, and they both came in, and we blew the canopy off the T-33, and the plane exploded, and the pilot was sitting there just burned up. And the chief told, I was just a recruit, chief told myself and another man to go get him out of there. Well, he was charcoal. When we went to get him out, we lifted him up and he just spread out, if you can understand that. It was very sickly. That was the worst time I've had rescuing somebody.
What gave you the strength to continue to go after such a traumatic first experience?
Oh, it was the thing about it, it was something that you did, something that you accomplished. You know, to save lives. Every time a plane crash, you came in there with your crash trucks, got the pilot out, and you'd be surprised how skinny I was. Weighed 130 pounds. I'm lifting a 240-pound man out of an aircraft, and it was just the adrenaline in me to make me do that, and that gave me complete satisfaction, saving that man's life.
Now, did you always work with the same people on all these missions, or did you have different
Oh, no,
people?
I went from different bases. I went from different bases, different people. Yeah, but all the same, it's all the same operation.
Any of those, do any of the people that you work with, did any of them stand out to you? Or any of them you still keep in touch with?
Yeah, I'm in touch with quite a few of my old buddies there, especially the two of them from when I was in Vietnam. And they were very good friends.
Now, I was told to ask you about in the helicopter or being with the pilots. What was that about?
Well, I didn't work too much in the helicopters, just about a month, maybe a little more. They was missing a rescue man for lowering down and rescuing pilots and bringing them back up. Somebody that got lost, and we found him and brought him home. And that's what I did. And then we had the fire bottle on there too, on this helicopter. We had a plane crash, had fire, we put the fire out, get the pilots out or what have you, and bring them home. Other than that, that's what I did in the helicopters.
You said you joined the Air Force, but you wanted to join other branches. What was the reason for joining the Air Force? Was there like a medical reason, or?
No, it was a better branch of service to where you can get an education. You could learn something more in the Air Force. It's just like being in a town when you're on a base. When you're in the Air Force, you've got your carpenters, your electricians, your plumbers, everything. And you got the whole operation like you do every other town. And that's what I liked about the Air Force.
You were in Vietnam and in the service for about a year, you mentioned. Did the war end, or what made you get out after a year?
Well, a year is the tour of duty. You have a tour of duty of 365 days. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's a little more. Mine was 2 days more. But that was a rough time of my career.
Completely understand. Was there ever a part of you that wanted to go back and do another tour, or?
No, never want to go back. I saw too much.
I can't imagine. Now I know you, if this is too hard, don't worry about talking about it, but I know you did fire your weapon once. What were those thoughts going through your head, if you remember?
I lived off base in a villa. We had to carry our weapons with us. I was leaving the villa one morning to go to work, and I had this shot. This Viet Cong shot my neighbor, a staff sergeant in the Army. I turned my gun on him and I shot him. That was the only man I ever shot. And I didn't think nothing of it. I just turned around and shot him because he shot an American sergeant. It never bothered me.
You did your job as a soldier, and we're forever grateful for that. After your year of service, there's been other wars. Have you had any? Did your friends ever go back, or?
No, I was going to go to Korea. Well, I went to Vietnam, but they stopped it, and we never went. And Vietnam is the only one I went to.
Now you talked about your education, and that's why you got into the Air Force. What did you learn, or what skills or traits did you learn?
The fire department is the only thing I learned while I was in there. But I went to finish my high school and 2 years of college, and I got that through the Air Force. And
the Air Force paid for that?
Yes, didn't have to pay a penny.
Was that one of the big factors of why you joined the Air Force, or did you want to just travel make a difference?
I just wanted to join the Air Force. It was that. But it was there for me, and if I didn't take it, it was my fault, you know. I took it because it was there.
Now, I know you were exposed to Agent Orange while you're over there, and unfortunately since then we've known that it can cause some illnesses and diseases. Were you ever affected from Agent Orange?
Yes, I was. Right now I was affected, I was in contact with Agent Orange, and I'm on a disability because of that. I've had prostate cancer, skin cancer, I'm diabetic, and this is what Agent Orange does to you. And they used to load it on the aircraft, and they would spill it. We didn't know what it was. It was just a chemical to kill the brush out there. We didn't know what Agent Orange was. And we used to go down there, we was just in fatigues and pants. We used to wash it down, walk right through it. We didn't know. They never told us to stay out of it, to protect ourselves from it, nothing.
Do you have any kind of ill will against that? Or?
No, because I didn't, they've taken care of me. They've taken care of me. They've done a good job of taking care of me.
Now, during some of these missions, where were some of these missions that you did take place? I know you mentioned one in El Dorado. You said El Dorado?
Laredo?
Laredo, excuse me. Where were some of the other ones that took place, some of your missions?
You mean some of the bases that I was at?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I was at North Carolina. That was a sweet base. There was about 50 men, 2 aircraft, and it was top secret place, but it's gone now. It's closed down, but at the time it was the best duty I'd had. It was really nice.
Well, now I'm sure you got some time off the base. What did you do when you were off the base? What did you do in your free time?
If most of the time we were by the sea or by a lake. Just take the family fishing or go to the lake and be on the beach, swim with my kids, wife. Spend time together. Spend all the time we could together.
Did you have a lot of free time, or was it few and far between?
Well, in the fire department, you worked 24 hours on, then you had 24 hours off. This was every day. Then you got 1 day off a week, and this is how it went.
That's it's very interesting. With any of the rescue missions, unfortunately, was everyone that you rescued, had they all perished, or were some still alive when you rescued them?
Oh, most of them were still alive.
Most were, okay.
Yeah, most of them was hurt pretty bad too. Some of them have crashed, and maybe have broken legs, broken arm. We had to fix them right there, and you never can tell when the Viet Cong would come in on you. So we had to hurry, get him up in that helicopter, and get him out of there. We didn't know where the Viet Cong was at the time when we went in there to get them.
With the obviously medical treatments and medical supplies have changed over the 50 years, and obviously they've gotten a lot better. What were some of were there any medical practices that you did that are still used today, or
I think
were they
just
tape
basic,
them and go?
Yes, just basic things like an emergency. You can't do much. You can just set the bone, stabilize it, bring him home, put him in the hospital, let the doctors do the rest. But you make him comfortable and get him to a hospital.
Did you ever get any letters or keep in touch with any of the people you rescued?
A few of them. There used to be a captain there that come around at least once a month to see how I was doing. I rescued him, and he was very grateful.
I would be too, being rescued. I can't imagine what it'd be like. Out of just over the year that you spent there, I know we talked about one of your greatest memories was your first ever rescue and getting, no pun intended, and my apologies, but thrown right into the fire. Other than that one, were there any other rescues that kind of stand out to you, or maybe your last one?
There was a couple of incidences that really stood out. That it's unbelievable. You're not going to believe what I'm going to say. The Vietnamese fire chief came and got me one morning. We went to the main gate, and this lady, I guess she looked to be about 40 years old, and they have a bustle at the back here. Well, she was carrying a satchel, and a satchel is an explosive device. You just pull the thing and throw it, and it explodes. It gives so many seconds.
Kind of like a grenade?
Similar like a grenade, but it's more powerful.
Okay.
And she brought that in on base, and the QC is there. People like the MPs we have here, military police, the QCs, they found it. And the lady was kneeling down, and the chief was telling me what this QC was saying, and he was saying that this lady brought this satchel on because the Viet Cong had told her to, or they would kill her family in North Vietnam. I said, we cannot have this. And I just sitting there, he just pulled his .45 out and shot her right at the back of the head. I thought I'd fall out the Jeep. It was so horrifying, you know. And I thought to myself, man alive, why? But that's the way they did things. It was so powerful, they didn't want it to happen again. There was another instance, the fire chief came and got me, and we went way at the south end of the air base. There was a rice paddy. Helicopter came up, and he says, watch that helicopter. And I watching the helicopter, just sitting back there. All of a sudden, man came out. No parachute, no nothing. Boom, and hit the ground. I said, what in the world is happening here? And he said that they're interrogating a private, a sergeant, and an officer. And if the private doesn't say nothing, they throw him out. the sergeant, they threw him out. And then at last they threw the officer out. They threw all three of them out. I said, how come the Americans are letting this happen? And I don't know. I don't know why they let it happen, but that was horrifying. See them people fall to their death. Horrifying. I've never forgot it. I can see it now. Yeah.
It's much appreciated that you're able to dig into those memories. Thank you. I apologize, I lost my train of thought there. Just thinking about those soldiers in the helicopters there. Now in Vietnam, it's well known that they fought in guerrilla warfare. It was a newer kind of warfare. What were you guys told about guerrilla warfare when you went into these?
We didn't have nothing to do with guerrilla warfare. We ran the base. We supplied the 101st, the Special Forces. We supplied all them men with all their ammunition, with all the guns and whatever you want. But we never had nothing to do with guerrilla warfare.
I understand that. Maybe I'm not saying it right. When like you would go into these rescue missions and you said you had to worry about the Viet Cong, knowing that they could be hiding anywhere, were you told anything about that, or were you told just to hurry up and get moving?
Just get in there, get him out, and try get him out as fast as you can. Sometimes it was down, up, gone. Sometimes he was at a broken leg, you had to set it, then bring him out, and it took a little longer. That's when you started to sweat a little. Yeah.
Were there ever times where you didn't have enough room, maybe in the rescue helicopter, and you had to leave somebody behind?
Had to carry him to another spot. Or the helicopter would let us down, and we'd go to him and bring him back to the helicopter.
Now, if there wasn't enough room, you would have to walk to another base, or would somebody be left behind, or what?
No. This is just an area where the helicopter could drop the cage down. Mm-hmm. We'd put him in the cage. We'd hook ourselves up. We'd both go back up in the helicopter.
Yeah, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, like, if during the rescue mission, if all of a sudden the people you're rescuing, all of a sudden the room in the rescue chopper becomes full, and you need to leave somebody behind, were there ever times where you needed to leave somebody behind? Okay.
No. We had too many helicopters for that.
Okay.
You would get one man, and you'd take that man and rescue him. If you had to go back and get another man, that was what you had to do. Okay. But you'd get one man and get him to the hospital. There'd be another helicopter maybe waiting to come in and get another man.
How long would these missions take, or how far would you have to fly?
Sometimes it's 50, 60, 70 miles. And, excuse me. And it took an hour and a half, maybe.
That's something I could never imagine doing, and it's very admirable that you were able to stand up. Now, after the year of service, and then you came back to normal civilian life, what were some of the did you ever have flashbacks, or did you ever have to change, or what?
I went to meetings to talk about these things, and knew it. If I had problems, I could go to the hospital and tell the psychiatrist that I got this problem, and he would take care of me. But I never had what you call a big problem. I'd wake up at night sometimes. If I did that, I'd go to the psychiatrist. I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't let it linger in me. I'd try and get it out of me. And they were pretty good for that.
You've been very open with us. Were you always this open about talking about the war, or did it take some time?
It took time. I didn't talk about Vietnam for years. Even ever since I got out the Air Force, I never really talked about it. Never even told my wife or kids. Nothing about it. Some of the things that we saw, we didn't like to talk about.
I know you had 5 wonderful kids. what if one of your 5 kids would have came up to you when they were 18, 19, early 20s and said, I want to sign up for the Air Force or the military or the Navy? What would your advice have been to
I
them?
never had a better life. In the 20 years I was in the Air Force, I never had a better life. I enjoyed it, every minute of it. Some of it was tough, like in Vietnam. But something about military, you went to work and you had regulations and rules to go by, and you didn't deviate from any one of these. And that's how you run your life, with regulations. And it was perfect. It was perfect. We might sound like robots, but that's how we run the Air Force.
Is there anything you miss about anything in your 20 years with the Air Force? Is there anything you wish you could do over again? Or
I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of good friends in the Air Force, and I miss them. Some of them are past, and some of them I still write to. Some of them I still call on the telephone and talk every once in a while. And it's good. It's good to reminisce sometimes.
you mentioned there was multiple times in Vietnam where you were scared for your life, where you had where you just had no idea what was going on. I know we talked about the time where you had to shoot the Viet Cong member.
That was.
Was there ever a time you thought you weren't going to make it home?
There was the 101st. We was down in a bunker. We had an invasion of concentration of Viet Cong come on the base. So we went to these bunkers. And the 101st came on the base. And we heard this shooting right outside our bunker. And we got pretty scared. We had our guns, but we weren't military. We weren't combat ready. And when we got out, there was 5 Viet Cong laying on the ground. They were coming to this bunker to throw grenades in it. And the 101st got them before they did that. It was close.
You said you weren't given any combat training. Was there any basic training, or were you only trained in just search and rescue?
We had our regular basic training, and we had rifle training before we went over there. But we never had no combat training or anything of that nature, fighting somebody with a knife or something like that. We never had none of that training. We were just people that took care of the base.
Yeah. During your year there, did you ever wish you had more than basic training, or did you ever have an opportunity to get more than just the basic training?
No, I think I was trained well for my job. For what I was there for, I was trained well. And I think everybody was for their jobs. And we had the one, like I say, 101st, the Special Forces, right there outside of our base. And they would be there just like that if we needed them.
That's absolutely incredible there.
Yeah.
So you said you spent 20 years, but only 1 year in Vietnam. Those 19 years, were you just enlisted, or what kind of was going on during those 19 years?
We just running the base and training. The last 6 years of my service, I was a training NCO, and I trained the young men that came in. That was very satisfactory. That was a good time.
I know when you grew up in Europe during World War II. Did any of the times when you grew up during World War II, growing up in England, did any of that compare to what you had to deal with firsthand in Vietnam? Or?
Well, we were kids. I was 10, 11 years old. We had a German aircraft crash about a quarter of a mile from our house in the woods. We went, bunch of boys, just as part of me, we went there to get this aircraft. We got these long 50 calibers, live. We just put them in our pockets and bring them on home. My dad, I thought he was going to go through the roof. And he took them and he gave them to the National Guard. Another time, we had a bomb fall just a block from our house, in between two rows of houses, and made a big crater. And there was the bomb. My friend of mine and I, we sat there looking at that bomb. Next thing you know, we had a man grab us. We was in trouble. Yeah, unexploded bomb down there could go off any time, you know. We didn't know. We were kids.
Now that you're a citizen of the United States, was when you came over from England, joining the Air Force, what were your thoughts, not being a naturalized American citizen? Did you feel like you owed it to America to join the Air Force, or did you join it strictly for school purposes, or just kind of what were your thoughts there?
I just wanted to join, just wanted to do something. I thought it was neat for that at the time. I was 19 years old, and I got my nationalized American citizen while I was in the Air Force, and I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed the 20 years I was in. Never looked back.
And after the 20 years, did you retire after 20 years? Is that where the cutoff is? Or?
No. I asked my family. I drug them around a lot of places, and it's hard on your children to take them from one school and put them in another school before they finish school. You know, halfway through the schooling, then you move them to another school, and it might be in England, and they all wanted to get out, wanted to go to school and graduate from that one school. I wanted to live and say, this is my home, instead of moving to all the time. They wanted a home. So I got out. I went to work for St. Joe Lead Company. I was a foreman down there in the blast furnace.
That's very admirable that you gave up almost everything you knew and sacrificed not only for your country but also for your 5 kids as well as your wife, and basically gave it all up for them. It's very admirable. Now, you said you started working for the lead company, and the Air Force was kind of routine. What was the biggest kind of transition from going from the Air Force in 20 years and constantly moving to all of a sudden literally putting down roots and not being able to move anywhere? Was that hard, or?
I worked for St. Joe Lead for 17 years as a foreman down the blast furnace, and I hated every minute of it. I hated every minute of it. Didn't like the job, didn't like the people. They were just so bossy. People were so bossy. They would say, will you do this? Get this done? They would write it out, and they used to make me so mad. They treat you like children, you know. After be coming out the Air Force and running my show, and then falling into that kind of category, it really hurt.
Did you ever think about joining the Air Force but letting your family stay behind and you just continue to travel?
It's too hard. It's too hard. The year without my family, I'd never do it again. We had the Cuba crisis, and I was shipped to England. My family was supposed to follow, but they stopped. And I went to see my commander, and I told him I wanted out. And he said, well, why do you want out? I said, I want my family. I said, that's part of me too. This Air Force is me, but my family is part of me too. And I want my family with me. And he said, if I guarantee they'll be on the first plane coming over here, would you stay? I said, I'll do that. And they was. There's one of the first families to come over after the Cuban crisis to England.
Did you have them come over because you wanted to stay in the Air Force, or were you concerned that with the Cuban Missile Crisis?
I missed them.
You missed them?
Oh, I
Okay.
missed them.
That was the only. Okay.
Oh, my goodness. You got children, you got a wife and kids, and you don't see them every day, and the only thing you got to look at is a picture. Like in Vietnam, the only thing I was going to do is look at the picture. I wanted to grab them, you know. I wanted to be with them. But I told him I'd never do that again. And
I can definitely understand where you're coming from. My wife leaves for a weekend, and I miss her like crazy on Monday.
yeah,
I couldn't imagine leaving her for a year and going to another
it
country.
is rough. It is rough.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. Is there anything that kind of we missed that you want to mention, or is there anything you want to talk about that we didn't cover?
A lot of people think the service life is a tough life. It might be for the first few weeks when you're going through basic training or something of this nature. They put you through the mill. But after you get settled and get into a routine, there's nothing like service life. It's good, especially if you've got good people up above you and below you. It's a great life. I enjoyed every minute of it. I recommend it for anybody. It's a good life.
Why don't you go and state just one more time for the record, just your name and your rank.
Denis Gosling.
Your rank and where you
Oh,
served.
I was a tech sergeant when I retired, and I spent 20 years in the Air Force.
Thank you.